humanitarian efforts. But right now, we cannot have sympathy or empathy for those outside of our realm because no one's looking out for us. And this is a mass distraction. It's no secret while the coronavirus just absolutely evaporated as soon as bombs start shooting over in Ukraine. And then you have President Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, who is a former comedian who's like 5'5" in terms of stature, telling America that we should do more, that we should shut down the sky. And what he's saying is he wants the Iron Dome. That's what they call it. Now, you ever wonder how those countries get to survive in Israel and all that? Because America has benefited them and equipped them with what they call the Iron Dome. You shoot a bomb or anything into those countries, into Dubai, into Israel, those bombs get shot down out the sky. And it's crazy how America is so gangster. They will sell bombs to foreign entities that's the enemy of those countries. And then they will sell the defense mechanism to the countries that's the enemy of them. So you basically shooting your own weapons and knocking them out the sky. Just imagine if they contracted other weapons from Russia or China that's untraceable. Then see, you're starting to understand what I'm saying. So now we're sitting back and we're looking at a push for World War III. And we see this coming, but this is not going to happen because the American people in the world is going to stand up, because before we can, want to end the world, who will be, what I would say, who would it be advantageous to? People in high places, people in gated communities. Just like when the Popeye's chicken sandwich challenge came out, I said, we're some fools, the people. And if we'll get in line and fight for a chicken sandwich, then they can, tell us anything and we'll believe it. And come after that, you got people in lines around the block to get a mask, lines behind the block to get tested, lines behind the block to, just to get a shot. They conditioned us. So now, if you look at the news, look at the world news, those same people that was here in America, running in the White House, destroying our cities down here in LA, beating up police officers, doing all types of stuff. Those same people, I guarantee you, those white people have left the country, some of them, and they're fighting overseas as whites. Okay, either Antifa, Proud Boys, they out there doing their thing. That's what they do. Those same people tore down Venezuela. Now, one thing that we got to understand, it's not the messenger, it's the message. Because if you, hindsight is 2020, if you look back, I remember President Trump talking about how Venezuela was a thriving country, beautiful. And then somehow it was taken down. And the monies that funded the takedown of Venezuela clearly has been traced to funding BLM, funding Black Lives Matter, funding the Build Back Better, funding the entire liberal operation. When I say liberals, I'm basically mean white Americans who hate Aryan German Americans or Aryan German people. Because if you look at what's going on in Ukraine, that's white on white. Why these white people don't hate these white people. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the crazy part about it. We have no ideal. And they could switch the script. They could come in a Trump supporter and say, make America great again, and then turn around and have a Black Lives Matter shirt on. And we've been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. That's why we still running them up. But we got to be smarter now. We can't just sit back and act like, we don't see it loud and clear. And this is why we're having these conversations. This is why understanding what conservative really means. Conservative, conserve like preserve. That's all it is. Conservation. Keep your morals. Keep your spirituality. Keep your dignity. Keep your pride. Keep your vision. Because America had a vision. And somehow the liberals, which Dr. King warned us about, look it up. Malcolm X really warned us about it. Look it up. The nation, I mean, really look it up. And it's the Jewish Defamation League who says it's anti-Semitic because they know it's to cover up the white supremacy. This is why we need our own conversation. This is why we got to be able to look in that mirror, challenge ourselves, go into our communities, challenge each other, and develop content and create content where the masses can understand so we can actually have the change and that upward mobility. The civil rights movement got us to second base and we stranded. I remember they had a intro back in the day, stranded on death row. We stranded on second base. But now, since the ops are distracted, and we're not going to riot here in America. I mean, they're shooting bombs over there in Ukraine. The person who killed Dante Wright, the police officer who said taser, 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 and shot this brother and killed him, only got 2 years, and we didn't know nothing about it because we're not pushing that agenda. What happened to Black Lives Matters? The devil's mission is to steal, kill, and destroy. Black Lives Matters was stolen, killed, and destroyed, and there's $60 million just sitting there. Sitting there. Is that for black people? I don't know, but it's raised by BLM. And most of BLM's people left because there's no God. People are starting to realize that liberals are leeches, that liberals are death-destroying, culturistic people because they do not believe. They're non-believers. I guarantee you, you will never catch a conservative atheist. Now, religion causes division. I don't care if you practice whatever you practice. Number one, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And secondly, love your neighbors yourself. But I want to add something in there because between you loving God and loving your neighbor, you got to find somewhere in between to love yourself, because you can only show love if you love yourself. So this is why our energy is changing. Our frequency is changing. If we look at the hits that's been taking place, you see, without a shadow of a doubt, the youngsters in the community, they get rich off them. Liberals. Think of the liberal record labels and the liberal companies that are using our young boys, our community, and destroying our generation so they can stay afloat, because they know without a shadow of a doubt from a class perspective that the Aryan, German, different people have issues with these mixture of people who are still considered Caucasian. So this white on white issue is an issue that whites are going to have to figure out, and you guys are going to have to explain in plain sight, like, what does this really mean? Because we don't know who to trust. We don't know who to believe. So you guys are going to have to duke it out and show who's the best, because that's who we're going to cut deals with. Just like if we had to make a decision, do we roll with BLM in terms of protecting this nation? No. Or do we roll with the insurrectionists? Because we know without a shadow of a doubt, those insurrectionists will protect this country. And we will pick up a gun and fight to protect this great nation. Now, in America, critical race theory is a thing. OK, I don't like to talk about the CRT. I like to talk about the R in between, just racism. OK, because critical can be debated. Theory, all theories are debatable. But when you talk about, because like I said, it sounds good in theory, but when you talk about race, meaning what you look like, facial features, melanin in your skin. A lot of people, racial doesn't mean, but what you, yes, it does. It's only 3 races on the planet: black, white, Mongolian. See, and when I talked about the 3 metals globally, somewhere the black race has been robbed of their gold medal. But we're going to leave that right there. Let's talk about race from a global perspective. Could you imagine being a straight A student, being a scholar, being so smart that you get a chance to leave your country and go and study abroad and go to the University of Ukraine, and you happen to be of African descent, meaning straight race, you black, when they look at you, I don't care what shade it is, blue black, brown black, paper bag black, you black. I saw a story, and someone shared another story, but I saw where in Ukraine, these black students were trying to leave Ukraine. And apparently the government is allowing transportation via train, bus, or whatever they decide, whatever you're closest to, that it's free of charge. Groups of black people being pushed aside and told, you might as well walk, because not one of you will get on this train until all of us are gone. Is that not racism? When you talk about being humanitarians, humans are humans. There's no race. Okay, but think about class. How do they know what your class is? Everybody seems to have nice gear in Ukraine. Everybody looks to appear to dress nice and have nice travel bags. And it doesn't look like the Haitians. It doesn't look like the Africans coming over here. It doesn't look like the southern border. And I heard an African guy says, well, they don't look dire. And I said, what you mean? They don't look like they're struggling. It look like they just traveling. What all that glitters is not gold. I know mentally they're going through some things, but clearly these were some civilized people, with influence and finances fleeing their country. But all of a sudden, race comes apart. See, and this is what it is when, just say if you're a police officer and you got three men all dressed the same, you got a white man, black man, and Chinese man, and they say, which one is the criminal? I'm going to pick the black man because I'm just betting the odds. So it's no issue for you to feel the way that you feel when it comes to race. But that's when it comes to crime and things like that. This is why it was so much of an effort for the civil rights movement to work on the content of our character, And this is why we have to embrace something outside of being liberal, because liberals for black people seem to be ignorant. OK, because anytime under the Trump administration, anytime they put a black liberal, anytime they had something to say, it was negative. It was rude. It was disrespectful. It was really crossing the line, because there's no moral responsibility when you belong to a group that has no God. Now, Joe Biden said he's Catholic. And it's no secret that the Catholic Archdiocese has had the largest payout when it comes to malpractice lawsuits, not malpractice, when it comes to the public lawsuits for people molested by clergy, by priests, and nobody talks about it. There has been class action lawsuits paid out in the billions in regards to the Catholic Church. If you've been violated, and they say it doesn't even matter how old you are. So I'm giving you youngsters a little game. So somehow if you can make up a story, just like you did with the PPP loans and all that, make up a story. They'll break you off some bread, because it's so bad that just on the accusation and following the process that they will pay out. And this is the Catholic Church, very immoral, has no God, Sadducees, and President Biden says he's Catholic. OK, and he's also white supremacist. And he's also in a position between powers. If you look at China and Russia, the AP put out a transcript yesterday and showed that China and Russia have been talking. And clearly, China reached out to Russia and said, don't push the line on Ukraine or start the war to the 2022 Winter Olympics has completed in Tokyo. And he said, okay.